Claire, I'm doing this for the good of the family. We don't know when your father will wake up, but the engineering team must work. This time, the negotiation with Lux Travel is life or death for us. So we must focus all of our resources together to ensure success.
Jack's face was filled with righteousness. Seeing this as a good opportunity to punish Claire, Taylor immediately echoed,
I think Jack is right. Claire, at this time, you should stop being selfish. For the family. What's wrong with you making some sacrifices?
Taylor had just been slapped by Claire and Kevin yesterday. She had long hated them to the bone. As long as she could give her cousin some trouble, she was willing to do anything. If Derek hadn't stopped her from being impulsive, she would have already found someone from the underworld to teach her a lesson. The rest of the relatives of the Wrights also opened their mouths, expressing their agreement. On the one hand, it was to curry favor with Jack and his son. After all, they were the future family heads. On the other hand, it was to kick Alan's family out of the core layer of the family to receive more dividends. Everyone's cold words fell into Claire's ears. In the meeting room, no one stood by her side. Claire's beautiful eyes were bloodshot as she was angered and trembled. She had never thought that she would be treated so coldly one day. The people who treated her like this were still her family. She couldn't help but look at Logan, sitting upright on the board of directors. She hoped that Logan would say something for her on her father's behalf. However, what he said made Claire even more upset. Let Alan stay in the hospital and take a good rest. Logan's intention was clear as well, to support Jack. Claire's face was pale. Her face had completely lost all color. Her grandfather's words could be said to be a death sentence to her father. Their family had no hope of turning the tables around. That's it for today. Dismissed. Logan stood up slowly and left the meeting room. Jack also stood up, but he walked up to Claire and looked at her condescendingly. He said proudly,
Claire, do you still dare to oppose me?
Shameless! She gritted her teeth, her eyes bloodshot.
It doesn't matter if I'm shameless. Didn't you see that even grandfather is standing on the side of a shameless person like me?
Jack laughed loudly. Within the family, Logan was a god. As long as he decided, even if he knew it was wrong, the Wrights would carry it out.
You'd better go home obediently and work as a delivery boy with your good-for-nothing husband. That's what you should do.
Her cousin sneered and left while humming a song. Claire couldn't hold it in anymore when the conference room was empty. She leaned on the table and started sobbing. In the evening, Kevin came home early. He put the rice in the steamer and prepared to pick up his wife. However, the moment he opened the door, he found her already standing in the doorway. Why did you come back so early? Kevin asked casually. Claire didn't say anything. Kevin raised his head and felt something was wrong. Her eyes were red, and her body reeked of alcohol. Did she drink? Kevin frowned. After being married for 3 years, Claire had barely touched a single drop of wine. Why did she smell like alcohol today? She walked into the room in a daze and sat on the sofa. Kevin was extremely worried. Eileen walked out of the bedroom just as he was about to speak.
Sweetheart, what's wrong? Who made you angry?
Seeing her mother, Claire could no longer control herself. She hugged her and started to cry bitterly.
Darling, who pissed you off? tell, Mom. Is it that bastard husband of yours?
Eileen subconsciously thought that Kevin had angered her daughter. Claire shook her head as she sobbed.
I have let Dad down. What's going on?
Only then did she recount the whole story, full of grievance. After she finished listening, her mother immediately became furious.
A bunch of bastards! I'll find them. Your dad is just unconscious. He's not dead. Why are they bullying us?
She was so angry that she almost went crazy. Their family was already poor, and if their engineering team were taken away, their family would lose all of their sources of income. Kevin's face was frighteningly cold. Alan had been working hard in the company all these years. Although he didn't achieve much, he did work hard. Now that he had fallen unconscious due to a car accident, these people couldn't wait to add insult to injury. The way they treated Claire was going too far. However, he was very clear that approaching Jack to argue with them asked for humiliation. Other people had no room to refute Logan's decision. Therefore, he tried to persuade his mother-in-law. Mom, calm down first. About this matter.
Calm down?
She turned around and glared fiercely at him, saying,
If it wasn't for you being useless, would we be bullied like this? Mom, don't blame Kevin. Your daughter is useless.
Claire shook her head, 2 streams of tears flowing down her cheeks.
Don't blame him. If it weren't because of him making our family lose face, your grandfather wouldn't have been dissatisfied with your father, and our family wouldn't have had to suffer the ostracism of others, she continued. This will never happen today. It's all because of him. If this trash had even the slightest bit of ability, you wouldn't have ended up like this.
Eileen's tone was filled with disgust towards Kevin. Claire was crying very loudly. Honey, Mom is right. I don't have the ability. I will give you an explanation for this matter. Kevin took a deep breath with a calm expression. He didn't blame Eileen because what his mother-in-law said was true. Alan being ignored by Logan was indeed related to him. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself for being too disappointing in the past. And Jack! Kevin's eyes flashed with a cold light. It was one thing to bully him over and over again, but to bully Claire over and over again was simply suicidal. After Kevin said this, he pushed open the door and left. Dialed Bob's number. Who is in charge of the Beverly Hills project? Kevin said coldly. Seeming to have felt his suppressed anger, Bob hurriedly said,
Sir, it's Matthew Bennett, someone from our family.
Tell Mr. Bennett there will be people from the Wright family seeking him for cooperation tomorrow. When that happens, I want to see them humiliated.
Yes, sir.
Bob felt his heart tremble as he hurriedly agreed. He didn't know how the Wrights had offended Kevin to make him so angry. Kevin hung up and coldly looked in the direction of the U.S. Bank Tower. They want to participate in the Beverly Hills project and make the Wrights one of the top families, right? Dream on. On the morning of the second day, Trevor and his son, who was dressed formally, stood up and rushed to the Lux Travel building. The two of them were very nervous along the way, because they had heard that many people and many companies hadn't even seen the person in charge of Lux Travel, let alone cooperate. Thus, they were not sure if they could meet the person in charge of the company. After they arrived at the building, Trevor had only reported the name of the Wrights once. Then, the front desk sent someone to bring them to the general manager's office. Jack didn't react until they got into the elevator. The person in charge of Lux Travel had rejected hundreds of companies, and he was willing to meet them?
Hey all, Kevin here. Can't wait for you to watch my story, The Billionaire Bastard. Season 1 is now streaming on the Pocket FM Universe YouTube channel. To watch the next episode, tap here, and to watch the full season, click on the playlist.